start this one. Good morning, students. So today we'll discuss about the task communication. So last class we have discussed about what are the different task communication, right? So among there we have discussed about the message passing, right, and the message queue, okay, and the last one in that is the remote procedure call, right? So what is the remote procedure call? This is also one of the technique where the two processes wants to communicate. Here the one thing I want to tell you, remote procedure call means the processes are not there on the same machine. They are one process is on one side and another process may be on the network, right? So it may be like when you are connecting to the network, right? So there are two computers will be talking to each other, right? So in on that computer there will be n number of processes again, or the applications will be running, and each process again they have to communicate with each other. So what is the technique that is they are using here is remote procedure call, that is called RPC. So this is one of the task communication. So one question I have given in the question bank, what are the different inter-process communication mechanisms, right? So there are message passing is there, right? And message passing, signaling, remote procedure call. So there are different methods are there, and even pipes is there, right? And then shared memory. In the shared memory, you have uh, pipes, okay, and in the message passing you have a message queue, okay, and message signaling, mailbox, and remote procedure call. So this is the third one, that is a remote procedure call. But here the two processes, they are not there on the same machine, they are there, they are on the different machine, right? So here what is the method that is basically it is employed in the distributed computer application, that is in the client server. Suppose the client wants to communicate with the server. The client is on one side, server is on the other side. So there are two processes are running. So communication has to be happen. So how they communicate with each other? So that method is called the remote procedure call, right? But here the technique that it will be using is sockets, right? And also this remote procedure call, either it can be a synchronous or asynchronous, right? So we will try to see the two processes, right? So there is one process that is existing, maybe you can think of this is as a client, another process you can think that is existing on the server. Suppose there are two processes wants to communicate. So you must have learned in the network, one process or the one host, if they want to send the data to the other host, there are certain protocols are there. You have a transmission control protocol or user datagram protocol, right? So they will be sending the data from the source to the destination. But there are certain protocols are used for sending the data. Again, for sending the data, they are using the sockets. So this sockets you will be learning in Unix programming. The Unix in the socket, these are nothing but the system call, right, which will establish a connection between the source to the destination, either through the TCP or the UDP protocol, right? Again, one more thing I wanted to tell here, there are two process data transfer will happen. Either it can be a connection oriented or connectionless, right? So the TCP or the IP, whichever the TCP is a transmission control protocol or the internet protocol, when the data is sent from one host or one process to the other process, that time it is a connection oriented. What do you mean by connection oriented? There will be a whatever the data that the server has received, the same thing the server will send the acknowledgement back to the client, right? So the client will come to know whether the data has been received by the server or not. So that is connection oriented. So there is a reliability is there. So the data will be received. There is no chance of, even though the data packet has been lost, again it will be resent. That is called connection oriented. In the user datagram protocol, there is, it is not a this thing. There is suppose if the data is lost, again there will not be the process, the client who is hosting, it will not get any acknowledgement, right? So there are two techniques that are used sending the data packets from source to the destination, but the method is called as a remote procedure call. That is, two computers are talking to each other. How they are communicating? With the help of the sockets, right? The sockets are nothing but the system calls here, right? So here you can see here, the RPC uses sockets for implementing the communication. So what you can define a socket is nothing but it is a two endpoint connection, right? And there are two applications that are running on the network. And whenever they are communicating with each other, they will be communicating with a port number. Each socket is associated with a port number, right? So whenever the two processes want to communicate, they will be assigned with a particular port number on each computer system, right? And again, in the sockets, there are different types are there: internet sockets and Unix sockets. Okay, and these sockets, they will be sending the data either through the TCP IP or the UDP communication protocol, right? So there will be a question on this: explain remote procedure call, that is the RPC. This is also one of the mechanism of the inter-process communication. The one thing you have to remember here is the two processes are not there on the same computer system. They are there on the different computer system. That is nothing but the two computers are talking to each other. So how they are talking? They are talking with the help of the sockets. And there are which two protocols are used? TCP/IP and the user datagram protocol, right? So this is what it is shown here, right? Okay, so next we will see the next part, the task synchronization issues. That is, whenever there is a communication is happening between the two process, what are the situation will arise? What are the issues you will be facing it with the racing and the deadlock? So what is that racing and the deadlock? We will see here, right? So what is the task synchronization? Task synchronization is nothing but when the two processes are communicating with each other, that time they will be sharing the resources, right? So the resources are nothing but they may be with respect to the memory sharing, or maybe with respect to the input or the output devices, right? Or maybe the bus, yes, or with the respect to the registers, or maybe with respect to the data also, right? So that time what happens, whenever they want to access, the two processes are accessing the shared resources, that time certain conflicts will happen, right? So what are those conflicts we will see here, right? So we have to avoid that conflicts. Okay, so first one we will see, that is called as the racing. So what is a racing condition? I just want to show you here, the two processes are communicating with each other, right? So what is that? The process A, it is running certain code, and process B is also running a code here, and both the processes are sharing the same variables. Just see here, it this coding, it is written in with respect to the assembly language, and here also this coding is written with respect to the assembly language. Now what is happening? The process A is executing the instruction called move EAX comma. Here it is also using EAX register, and this is also using the EAX register, and also both are incrementing that counter. EAX is a register, that means there is a counter variable which they are incrementing both. So what is happening here? First, the process A is executing the instruction, right? Assume that there is a scenario in between. What happens? The process B needs some data. So what happens? The process A, the context switching. Context switching is nothing but the process B also needs some resource. There is a EX data sharing is required. So immediately what happens? The process A is switched to the process B. That time what the process B is doing, it is also sharing the same register value, that is EAX. It is acting as a counter. So it has incremented this counter by 1. So when it is incremented EAX by 1, that what time happens? At the, again, that incremented value is not known to the process A. Only the process B has incremented that counter value, but that changed value, it is not known to the process A, right? So this is what happened immediately after this add EX comma 1 is nothing but this is acting as a counter here. It has incremented that counter, and again immediately the process A needs the context switching is nothing but again that resource, the counter value is required for here. So here it has switched to here, but the process A is not coming to know that the value of the counter A has been incremented. So there what happens, it will use the old value of the EAX, and then again there is a conflict arises here, right? So this is what the variable counter, it is incremented by the process B, but process A doesn't know that, right? So this leads to one loss of the counter. So therefore the process A calculation will lead to wrong. So this is called as the racing. So whenever the two processes are sharing the resources or the same variable value they are sharing, the process A, if it is the same variable after certain time, if it is incrementing and the process B has already incremented, that value will not come to known to the process A. It will use the old value. So there the racing condition happens, right? So this is one of the task synchronization that is issues that is happening in the process. And the second one is the deadlock. You know that you can see here a traffic jam, right? So in there are 4 roads are there. So you can see here what happens. There is a traffic signal, yellow is put to all, right? So all the on all 4 directions, right? They are waiting to pass, but each one is waiting for other to pass, right? So there is a conflict is arising, that is nothing but the deadlock. So he is waiting so that he can pass, and this person is thinking that he will go first. So there is a deadlock is happening. So even in the process synchronization, the deadlock happens. What is that deadlock here is the process A, it wants resource Y. The resource Y, it can be in terms of the IO devices, or it can be in terms of the memory, or it can be in terms of the variable. Now what happens, the process A wants resource Y, but this resource Y is holded by process B, right? And the process A is holding resource X, but what the process B wants, it wants the resource X. So both are holding each resources, and no one is releasing that resource, right? So this is what each process is waiting for the other resources. Then what happens? No one is getting any resources here, because each one is thinking that this process will release first. This process thinks that this process will release first. So there is a deadlock is happening. So these are the common issues that are there in the task synchronization. Whenever the two processes are communicating, there should be a task synchronization with respect to the resource sharing. There should not be any conflict here. The other one, if the process is holding the resource, it should release it, and so that the process A can continue with that resource. So if that doesn't happen, then the deadlock will happen. So this is what one scenario it is shown here, right? So why these deadlocks are happening? Because there is no mutual exclusion, right? There is no mutual understanding between the two process. The process A is thinking, I want this resource, right? Resource X is needed for the, it doesn't know that the process B needs resource X, although it has completed, it doesn't know that the process B needs it, right? And so therefore it is holding, and the process B think that the resource Y is needed by the process A. So there is no mutual understanding between the two process. Therefore there are the 4 conditions that are there. Both are not mutual understand, because mutual exclusion is not there. That's why this is leading to the one of the deadlock condition. Other one is hold and wait. Hold and wait means both are holding. No one is releasing the resources. This is also this is what the one issue that is coming into the deadlock picture. And no resource preemption. So what is the no resource preemption is that so here the process who is holding the resource, that process should release it. So here the operating system cannot take back that resource and it will allocate here. It is a duty of that process to release the resource. So that is not happening here, right? And that is why it is causing the deadlock. And one more thing is the circular way. What is that? Suppose the process is waiting for a resource, right, which is currently held by another process, which in turn is waiting for a resource held by the first process. So there is no understanding between the two processes that other processes holding the resource, that it should release it, right? So this is it way it is continuing, and it is leading to the each process to wait in a circular fashion. So these are the 4 conditions. That is, there is no mutual understanding between the two process, right? And both are holding and waiting for each other, and also no one is giving the preemptive, right? and each process they are holding with each resources. That's why they are putting in a circular way. So these all four situations are causing the deadlock situation, right? So how this is overcome, right? So to overcome the deadlock, so what the best technique is that the operating system has to take care of the resource allocation for each process, right? So what is the detect and recover? So what is this method, right? So how the deadlock is overcome? You try to see here the detect and recover. This approach, what it says that the operating system, it has to maintain a resource graph, right? So whichever the processes are using resources, right, that graph should be maintained in the memory, right? And who is doing the request and what time it is releasing, all that updation should be maintained in the memory, right? So here that should be analyzed by resource graph, by the graph analyzer algorithms, right? So if the operating system takes care of this, the deadlock condition, if it is detected, then what happens? This deadlock can be avoided, right? This is one of the technique that they have given. Other thing is the to what is a deadlock handling, how it can be overcome here is it is avoided by the careful, that is what they have told, the resource allocation techniques. The operating system kernel has to take care of the proper resource allocation techniques for each process, right? And there are other certain rules they had given. Just go through here how to prevent the deadlocks. To prevent the deadlock condition, it can be done by with the four of the condition, the deadlock situation, right? So what is the first condition is that ensure that the process does not hold any other resources when it request a resource, right? When any process is requesting for a resource, no one should hold that resource. So this, it can be done with the certain guidelines it has to follow. What are the guidelines? See here the first one, process must request all its required resource and the resources should be allocated before the process begins, right? Before the process starts executing, that time any process, if it has requested for a resource, that time only it should, the operating system kernel should allocate the resource. Not that before the process has not started executing, before only that the process allocation should not be done. This is the first guideline. The second guideline is what? Grant the resource allocation request from the process only if the process does not hold a recent resource currently, right? When it is required, that time only you allocate the resource. In advance, you don't allocate a resource for the process, right? And second guidelines is ensure that resource preemption, that is resource releasing. Once the process has completed its resource sharing, once that is over, it should release it immediately. That should be taken care by the operating system, right? So that, what are the guidelines here? There are three rules are there. You try to remember this. The first one, right? What is the guidelines? Release all the resources currently held by the process, right? If a request made by the process for a new source is not able to fulfill immediately. So that is what they are telling here. Don't give the resource to the process in advance, right? So when it is required, that time only you allocate it. And then the second is add the resources which are preempted or released to a resource list describing the resources which the process requires to complete its execution, right? Suppose some of the processes, if they have already completed the resource, whatever has been given to it, release it so that the other process can use it. And the third one is reschedule the process for execution only when the process gets its old resources and the new resource which is requested by the process, right? So these are the certain guidelines. So overall, what the guideline says, right? In advance, what the operating system it has to do, resource allocation technique it has to adopt, and see that whenever the resources are allocated to each process, so before starting of the execution, that time it should be allocated. That care should be taken. And another thing, immediately after the process has reused that resource, immediately it should be released so that the other resources can reuse it. So there are certain guidelines are given, right? How to avoid the deadlocks, you go through it, right? So this is what the portion that is there regarding, and this dining philosopher's problem. This is one more deadlock condition is there. This portion is not there for you people, right? Okay. So only up to here, right? So the portion for here, yes. So what is the portion here is, what are the task synchronization issues? You have having a racing and deadlock. So semaphores, and this is also one more technique is there that we will see in the next class, on the Monday's class, right? And also there is one more concept which I'll be discussing about the debugging techniques. That is in the embedded firmware. The last important is this: when you have designed a system, what are the debugging techniques that are there in the embedded system design? That is the last part in your syllabus. So that I'll discuss on Monday's class, and also the semaphores, okay, and how to choose the RTOS. So these concept I'll discuss in the last class on Monday, right? So any doubt is there, you can discuss.